Welcome to Surviving Your Storm podcast, where we explore emotional wellness, forgiveness, self awareness, and initiative taking wellness. And now, your host, Sunshine Johnson.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of Surviving Your Storm podcast. I am so happy to be here with you guys. Oh my God, this is my first podcast, and I am very happy that you took the time out to be here with me today. You could be doing anything else, but you're here with me, so thank you. I am your host, Sunshine Johnson, and I am the founder of the Sunshine Through the Storm brand and also the creator of the Survivor Meets Purpose training courses. In this podcast, we will be exploring emotional wellness, forgiveness, self-awareness, and also personal development or personal transformation. And I will be doing this through the lenses of spirituality and mindset change, clarity, and initiative taking wellness. And what that means is just that after I'm finished with my podcast, that there's something that was said in it that you will be able to take some value from it and take it into action into your life. Today I want to just give you an introduction of who I am and also just talk to you about why I am doing this podcast. So let's get started. Have you, any one of you, ever quit your job before? And if you have, you can answer me in the comment section. You know, we can have a dialogue with each other. My second question is, have you ever heard a voice from God telling you to do something and you just didn't do it? Well, I've got a story for you. You see, again, I am Sunshine, and I am a certified life coach. I'm an emotional wellness and personal transformational life coach. I graduated from York College, CUNY, and I received my bachelor's degree, psychology. And when I left college, I thought that I wanted to, be a therapist for the rest of my life. I love the idea of working with others and supporting them in becoming better versions of themselves. So I got my first job working as a therapist, and it was great. I was working with men and women and children, and just to see their face light up when I am talking to them and helping them with their goals and, taking them from a sad point in your life to a happier point in your life. I loved it, and so I decided, this is it. This is where I'm going to stay. I just graduated from college, 23 years old, but this is where I'm going to be for the rest of my life. Well, 6 months into that, I went to work one day, and there was a padlock on the gate. And two other co-workers were standing outside, and I'm standing there, and we're trying to figure out, what's going on. Until finally someone came to us and told us that this job is no more. There was a discrepancy between the owner and the government. And so they shut it down and no more. Needless to say that I was devastated, because here I am just coming up from college, 6 months in, doing the best, feeling the best in my life, and it just ended right there. So I had to move on. I decided to work as a CPI or CPS in New York. I worked with the city in New York for a little bit, and then I decided that I wanted to move to Florida. So my husband and I moved to Florida in 2003. We relocated here, and I love Florida. I stayed home for 8 years with my children. I'm also a mom with 3 children. They're all grown now. My baby just turned 17 last month, and I stayed home with them for about 8 years, and I got myself a little touch of what entrepreneurship was about. I opened up a daycare in my home, a family home daycare, while I was taking care of the kids. So I enjoyed that for a little bit, but that still wasn't as fulfilling as I as the job that I had before and being a therapist. So I decided to shut that down and go back into my career. I went back into my career. I worked for the state of Florida for a little bit, and then I got into what I really wanted to do, was working as a certified domestic advocate and counselor. So that was like my dream career coming back, because it's the same thing. I was able to work with women and children and also men in supporting them in going through the worst time in their life, and being abused by someone who's supposed to love you and care for you. And here they are abusing you in some form, whether it was emotional or psychological, financial, physical abuse. And I enjoy working with them. I enjoy working, with the idea that here's somebody who is not feeling the best in their life and maybe don't know what tomorrow's going to be like, and I'm able to support them and to get them back on track so that they can, move on and live the best life. So that's what I like to do, and I was doing that for 6 years, working as a DV counselor. But in 2020, last year, I started hearing a voice in my head that says, you need to quit your job. Like, what? Quit job? Nah, I'm not going to do that. But in October of last year, it started getting louder and louder. And I found myself, one day I took one of the survivors somewhere, and on my way back to work, I just felt this feeling that came over me, this overpowering feeling that says, you need to quit your job. It was so strong that I had to pull off the street. I went into a parking lot and I started crying. And so I needed some support. I called my husband on the phone and I started telling him that, I just got this feeling that I need to quit my job. And the first thing that came out of his mouth, well, you can't quit your job. And I know I couldn't quit my job because it's a pandemic. Who quits their job in a pandemic? So that notion was shut down almost immediately. And from October, November, December, I was fighting in my spirit, should I quit my job? Should I not quit my job? And it just gets stronger and stronger. At the end of 2020, I took a week off. The last week of the year I took off, and the notion was I was not going to go back to work because I wasn't feeling that I should. But I did. I got up, I went back to work January 4th. And within 1 week of being at work, I got into some kind of, it was not confrontation or anything like that. It was like a slight disagreement with one of my coworkers. And I just felt like I can't work here anymore. So I decided to talk to my supervisor about it. We went into a private meeting, and the first thing that came out of my mouth, even before I sat down, was, I quit. And she was surprised. And guess who was surprised too? Me. Because I didn't even know that I would say something like that. And we spoke for a little bit. I cried about it. And then she talked to me. And I understood some of the things that she was saying. So I decided that I wasn't going to quit that day. Big mistake. Big mistake. Because from that day forward, every single moment of my time at work was hard. It was very hard for me to want to work with the survivors. I didn't want to answer the phone anymore. And it's critical because working a hotline in a domestic violence shelter, you're having someone who's calling in and is in crisis because this is do or die time for them. And I used to love working with them and talking to them, but during that period, I just didn't want to answer the phone. I felt stressed, I felt overworked, I felt burnout. I was crying every night before. I would go to work on Mondays. Sundays was the worst. My husband used to hate Sundays because he knew that I was going to be in a depressive state of mind and probably on his nerve about not wanting to get up and go to work. And it wasn't like that for me because I love my job so much that I couldn't understand January, February, March. I was just not happy. Every day I would go to work, I was so unhappy. Until in March came around, and when my husband got let go from his job, and I was like, oh no, I can't quit my job now, because how can I do that? I'm now the only one working. But 2 days later, actually, when that happened, I thought to myself, oh, since my husband is no longer working, and that's 3 months into the year, maybe God was trying to say to me that 3 months into the year, because he was telling me you need to take 3 months off. Maybe that's the 3 months he was talking about. I was confused. And then 2 days after the incident with my job, my husband's job, I got a phone call from my HR department. And they wanted to talk to me about something else that had happened at work. Now, I had also spoken to the HR department in January regarding the other coworker. And now here's the second time, and it's only 3 months apart. What's happening? Why is my name being spoken to the HR department? What is happening? So I was so angry, and I was so mad about that. So that was the deciding point for me when I said, that's it. I'm going to leave this job. I can't do it anymore. What else is in store for me? I've been feeling so stressed. What else is going to happen? So that was April 2nd, 2 days after my husband was let go. And here I am thinking that I quit. I came home. I told my husband that I'm quitting. But the whole weekend, I thought about it, and I said to myself, I don't want to quit this way. I am going to write a resignation letter and then stay for the rest of April, which is what I did. I didn't write the resignation letter until the Thursday before I decided to give it in on April 16th. And I waited that long because I wanted to be sure that this is the right thing that I am doing, that I'm truly hearing from God, and that He's saying for me to quit my job. I was bargaining with God earlier in the year that I would quit my job, but let me just work all of 2021, and then I'll take some time off in 2022. Let me save up some money and all that. But He was like, nah, you need to quit your job like right now. You need to leave. So on the 15th, I wrote my resignation letter, and that was the first time I felt just like the stress was released from me. It's like something just came, and I just feel light again. I wasn't feeling heavy. I just felt good. And I signed that letter. I went into work that Friday morning, and I gave it to my supervisor. And the moment I put it in her hand, I knew I was doing the right thing. I knew that I was to let go of my career, something that I love, something that I didn't want to leave. I just had to let go of it, and I had to leave. I gave her the resignation letter, and that day I was just so happy, and everybody was like, what? Sunshine, you look so beautiful. You look so happy and radiant. What's going on? I didn't tell anyone what was happening, but yes, what they were seeing was God's glory on me being obedient to His word. And that's also what I was feeling. The last 2 weeks of work was so beautiful. It was great. I was back to my old self. I was working with the survivors the way that I used to work with them. I was even thinking to myself, should I even quit? I'm back to my old self. Can I get that resignation back off the table? I love my job. I just want to stay. But immediately it came to me, no, quit. So I quit. And that's just the way it is. It's just like you have to be obedient to God's calling. And I just quit that job. And I left. And I know people don't quit during hard times, especially now in a pandemic. Who quits their job? Who just get up and just quit their job? But I quit, and I don't feel bad. It's 6 months now, and I don't feel anything about it, because God told me that when I quit that job, I'm supposed to take 3 months off, do whatever He tells me to do, and then He's gonna have me do His work. So here I am, creating this podcast because he's calling me to speak to someone for whatever message that he wants to send out there. And so that's the main reason why this podcast started. When I took off in the end of April, I also started working on, like resting. The first week of May, I just rest. I did nothing. I just went into my closet. I praised God and just do more things for me. I just relaxed. The second week, what did I do? I cleaned up my closet. Now my closet is where I go and talk to God and just meditate and read my Bible. And so he called on me to clean it out. So I may be putting up some pictures of some of the things that I did that week. You'll see it on the screen. And I cleaned up my closet, and the third week of May, I cleaned my entire garage. My husband and I, we got together and we cleaned up the garage. Took everything out, painted the walls, the floors, everything, and then put it back in. And then the last week I did everything else, cleaned my house. There was nothing that wasn't touched in my house. I cleaned everywhere. The baseboard. The only thing I didn't do was paint the main walls, but everything else was painted. Everything, the drawers, the kitchen drawers, the drawers in the bedroom, everything, the socks drawer, everything I was able to touch on and clean up. And in the beginning of the year, we had cleaned up our backyard, and it's really nice out there. So when I was finished cleaning the house in May, I take the time off in June. I did nothing in June. Nothing. I went to the beach if I wanted. I went to the park if I wanted. I studied my Bible. I just relaxed. And I took the time off and felt this energy that came over me that was peace, that I wasn't really feeling at work. Because before at work, twice I was taken out on stretcher to go to the hospital because I had elevated high blood pressure. My blood pressure, the 2 times I was taken out I think both of them they were pretty close. It's like 250 over 220. Those are death numbers. I didn't even know what was going on with me, that something that I love to do was actually killing me slowly. But I survived those, and I even said to myself, maybe God was saying you need to take some time off from work, because the third time was not going to be so lucky. So who knows? Maybe he called me off so that I could come home and rest, because I really needed rest. And I always said to my husband, you never know that you need something until you're in it. Because I didn't know that I needed to take some time off from my mental health, from my physical body. Not until I was in it did I know that I needed it. And then in July, it was my 20th wedding anniversary with my husband, and so I decided that we were going to do a love month, and we were going to do little things for each other. Things I do for him, do for me. And it was going great until July 18th. My daughter became ill, and 2 days later, I became ill. And 2 days later, my husband became ill. And neither one of us thought coronavirus, because we hadn't gone anywhere. My daughter wasn't working out. She had quit her job 3 months before. I quit mine 2.5 months before. We weren't going anywhere. We were in the home doing nothing. And my husband's new job, he does not work around people that much. So we didn't think coronavirus. It wasn't until my daughter called me and said the person that she was with that day when she got ill had the coronavirus. And that's when we knew that we had the coronavirus. It was rough. It was the worst time in our life. I started questioning God. Did you take me off from my work for 2.5 months, not even the full 3 months that you said I needed time for, to come and kill me and my family? We were sad. Very, very sad. Because we almost came to the point of near death. We were that bad. But for some reason, He survived. We survived. He kept us going, and here we are today, because he knew he had a purpose for me, and he knew that I was supposed to start this podcast, and I have to talk to the masses. I have to speak to the people and give you guys, the message that he wants to send through me to you. So here I am, surviving something that was so horrible. It was the worst. It's like having fever for 10 days. It was the worst thing for my husband, for me, for my daughter, who was only 16 at the time. But here I am, and I am producing whatever he calls me for, so that you will be able to enjoy what he has in store for you for the next, this is my first, so for the next 11 episodes that's coming through, I have a lineup for you guys that's going to be very supportive and caring and motivating and empowering to you guys. So I just want to say also that if you ever feel like quitting your job, I know we're living in a tough time, we're living in a pandemic. If you want to quit your job, don't just up and quit your job just like that. Your story may not be exactly like mine. So I just want to give you like 3 little tips of, if you feel like that's what you want to do. Number 1, don't just up and quit your job like that. What you want to do is make sure that you have financial planning. You want to make sure that you have enough money that is going to take you through whatever time it may be. 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, a year. You want to know that you're going to have enough money to pay for your bills, because I've been off for 6 months. Those bills don't stop coming. They're still coming. But God has provided my husband to be here with me still with a job, even though he had lost it, and he came back one within 2 weeks. The same day I handed in my resignation letter, the same day my husband received a job. Look at God. Look at God. And that was only 2 weeks after he was fired. He wasn't really fired. He got let go for foolishness. So 2 weeks after I put in my resignation letter, in a pandemic, stuff like that doesn't happen. So you want to have a financial plan. You don't want to just up and just quit your job like that. The second thing is, if you feel stressed, if you feel burned out, or even reach the point of depression, and your mental health is taking a toll, you want to talk to somebody about it. It could be a mentor, it could be a life coach, it could be a friend, a family friend, a trusted family, a family member, or a friend. But somebody, anybody, you want to talk to them about what you're going through. Maybe they're able to support you through that. You don't want to just go through that alone. So speaking to somebody is very imperative. And the third thing is, you want to ask yourself this question: if I should quit my job today, do I have enough to sustain my bills and my lifestyle? Because it's not just the bills alone, but what about your lifestyle? What about the things that you used to like to do, the places that you like to go? Because then that's going to stop if you don't have any money. Are you ready mentally for something like that? You're not going to go eat food in your favorite restaurant that you used to go to. So you have to think about those things. And also, you want to be obedient. If you feel like God is calling you for something, you want to talk to God about it. You want to make sure that you are having that conversation with him, talking to him, asking him questions. Yes, you can. You can have that one-on-one vertical conversation with God. Just talk to him and see, where do you want me to go? I can say to you that he is going to always be there for you if you just allow him. I always say that the obedience is the key to God's favor and his blessing. I'm going to repeat that. Obedience is the key to God's favor and his blessing. So that was my story. That's the reason why I started the podcast, and you get to know a little bit more about who I am. Next week I'll be sharing my story on my experience that was traumatic, that really pushed me out into become the life coach that I am today. That was kind of hard for me to get back into, because when I think about my story, sometimes I get so emotional. So That's what that was. But yes, I'm going to talk about my story. I'm going to tell you deeply about my childhood trauma. And you don't want to miss that one. It's going to be very inspiring and, you know, a little bit somber at the same time. But tune in next week for that one. And for this show, if you found something in it that was very useful for you, that you can take and apply back into your life and you had some value from it, please share it with other people. And also, don't forget to subscribe. You can subscribe to this YouTube channel. You can find me also on Facebook at Sunshine Through the Storm. You can find me on my Instagram channel, which is sunshine_through the storm. And I'm also on all the platforms, the podcast platforms. So like Spotify and Spreaker. You can find me on all of those. You can follow me there also. Okay? So thank you so much again for tuning in for the first episode of Surviving Your Storm podcast. I'll see you next week.